Good evening, and welcome to Unenclosed Spaces in the Great Outdoors for Grounding. You are listening to a radio program on the arts in times of climate crisis, curated and hosted by David Weber-Krebs, that's me, and Jeroen Peters. We are speaking to you from the Kai Studios in Brussels.
We live in an age in which human activity has a profound impact on our physical and ecological surroundings. How can we create stories, aesthetics, and spaces of experience to deal with this situation reflexively and critically? What role can the performing arts play in the debate on climate crisis?
Each edition of Unenclosed Spaces in the Great Outdoors has a specific focus. Today's heading is grounding. What remains of the theatre as we know it when its walls crumble and the outside world creeps in? Imagine a roaming community of makers, researchers, spectators and citizens. Where can we find a ground to land?
When formulating these questions over a year ago, little did we know they would be overtaken by reality in unexpected ways. The COVID-19 pandemic has made some uncanny aspects of the climate crisis into an acutely felt reality. Events, life forms and entanglements beyond our control have entered not only the theatre, but also our familiar environments of life and work. Confusion, constraint, vulnerability and grief have mingled with emergent ecosystems, with the prospects of organizing our ways of living and working differently, with our awareness of privilege, and so on. Even till a year ago, we could consider the theatre as a rehearsal space for future scenarios, for practicing alternative ways of gathering and presenting ourselves. During the COVID-19 pandemic and the measures it inflicted, this notion received a reality check and was seriously challenged.
Initially intended as a performance conference, Unenclosed Spaces in the Great Outdoors would have happened in April last year at the Kai Studios in Brussels with a live audience. The title Grounding and our questions have remained the same. Yet, in dialogue with several guests, we've reworked some of the planned contributions so they could be presented as a radio conference, broadcast over 3 consecutive nights from the Kai Studios in Brussels. Where can we find a ground to land? Each night, we present 2 contributions by artists who propose their answer to this question. So, we are now going to listen to the work of Julien Bruneau. Julien works for quite some time on a performance format addressing domestic places in a phase of transition. And it seemed relevant to us to ask him to apply some of the principles of this practice to here, to the closed theatre. We asked him to invoke the Genius Loci of the Kai Theatre. Please take the time to listen to A Door Opened onto a Garden, delineating the cusp of where inside meets out. It will last for about an hour. Around 9 o'clock, we will present the second contribution of the evening, the radio play La Caresse du Coma, featuring YOLO, by Lise and Loto Retina.
I'm sitting at a table that forms a U shape together with 2 other tables. They are dark brown, but spotted with small, clearer marks. They're smooth. I'm in a small room whose walls have been covered with black curtains. So as to muffle the sound. You are sitting too on a chair, in an armchair or a sofa. You may be laying down. On your bed or on the floor of a dance studio. Or you're standing, maybe cooking in your kitchen. And I'm here speaking to you. But in your absence, you're not here. Right now, you're not even listening to me. Because today is the 1st of February 2021, on a Monday, late afternoon. I'm recording these words in a small improvised radio studio next to the big stage of the Kai Theatre. Today is the 7th of February, Sunday in the evening. The weekend is behind, and the week is ready to start tomorrow. A new week. You're listening to the first broadcast of this recording. You're listening to my words while I'm not uttering them anymore. Today is the 12th of March. You are at home, in your office, in the apartment that you receive as part of the artistic residency you're involved with. You are in a car driving through the night and you're listening to the podcast of this recording. Today is the 23rd of July. It's sunny outside. Not that warm. And some rain has to be expected soon. Today is the 5th of November. It's misty, humid. Today is February 2024. Today is September 2027 or April 2030. No matter the weather, no matter the dates, if you're hearing these words, you're hearing them now. It's happening now. Because now is the only moment for anything to happen. Now is the only moment for anything to happen, and symmetrically, anything that is present here in the now is not merely being, it is happening eventually. You see, the past is happening now. It's happening as consequences, traces, memories, grief. And the future is happening now, as propensities, inclinations, tendencies, desire, fear, hope. I'm sitting. My left arm is lifted in the air as it got engaged into the flow of my speaking. My other arm, the right arm, is rested on my right thigh. I'm leaning slightly forward. In this small, darkened room. You have your legs gathered on your right side. You have your left leg crossed on top the right one. You are laying on your right flank. Maybe have your chin rested on your hands. You are in a green sofa, curled up, receiving the warmth of the heater from your left side. Your attention traveling through your bookshelves while listening, and your hands receiving the warmth of your tea in the cup your palms are enveloping. You may have your eyes closed, maybe. You are sitting at your desk, back straight, with your headphones, and the gaze going through the window across the street, reaching for the tree that looks orange because of the city light. Superimposed to the foliage, dancing under the wind, you notice your own face reflected by the window. You are lying on the blue sheets of the narrow bed of your student room. You observe the trajectory of the light, the sunlight passing through the windows, and you wonder, when will it reach my shoulder? This rectangular shape traveling on the yellowish wall I'm leaning against. These words, they fly, suspended in the air, meet and mingle with the smoke spiraling up from the hot surface of the water you bathed into, enjoying the dissolution of your contours into the welcoming liquid medium. I'm standing now. I leave behind the small room and reach the big, empty space of the stage. Attracted by the opposite wall. I feel the expanse of space. I enjoy the expanse of space. My right foot is in front. My pelvis is tilted forwards, my chest open, my two arms in the air, palms open in front. I'm projecting myself in all directions. As if shining in this large envelope of the theater. My torso is bent forward. My neck offering its skin to the ceiling. The right arm is stretched on the right side like an antenna. The left arm, antenna-like as well, reaching towards the floor. I'm enjoying the roundness of the back and how it addresses itself to the corner behind, while I'm aware of the flatness and width of the floor. Marked with many traces of stripped away pieces of tape that kept with them layers of painting. Now, at the very edge of the proscenium, standing upright, feet together, only the back half of the feet on the proscenium itself. The toes are in the air, and I'm looking at the empty tribune. All seats being folded. I sense some stream of fresh air. As I move from station to station, I start to become more and more attuned with the presence of the space, more and more attuned to the web of interactions I'm reconfiguring whenever I move. Becoming more and more complicit with the place, more and more inspired by it. Bathing into it. Enjoying its tactile spaciousness. And if you move yourself, rather, when you will move yourself, because sure, at some point you will move, even so slightly, because, yeah, you need to adjust your back, to rest your head, to stretch a bit these legs, or reach for a glass of wine, your cup of tea, whatever. So when you will move, maybe you will understand what I mean, because the slightest, tiniest movement is enough for you to sense how any change in your presence here is enough to make you feel differently the space you are inscribed in. Yeah, the smallest movement is enough to open up a new array of nuances of what it feels like to be here where you are. Maybe then you can feel dawning on you the sense of how much you are enveloped by the place. Participating to a rich, populated mesh of relations. Now I propose that we open a door. We open a door onto a garden. Some fresh air is coming in. Some light also. Bright, warmful, transparent light. I invite you to step towards the door, to pass through the threshold. And step into the garden. It is a wide garden. You don't see the contours. It's also a pretty wild garden. The grass is high. It's fat. Here and there are some flowers, not much. Cute bunches of white buttons at the top of a small stem. Otherwise, a constellation of star-like red corollas distributed unevenly. Maybe there are some birds, 2, 3 small birds, silvery, and a bigger one, a peacock. Lazily moving through the grass that it has to push on the side, dragging its long tail with its long feathers adorned with eye-like patterns. And a snake. There is this large snake coiled up with its thick, wide scales. A crest on the forehead between his 2 eyes, and some extra skin under the chin that resembles a beard. It lifts its head, directs it towards a group of 3 characters. On both sides, twin-like figures that are uplifted by a momentum of joy, to the point that they are on their toes. They are arcing backwards, offering their chest to the sun, lifting their arms to the sky, bringing up and higher up a horn of plenty. In the middle of them, framed by them, very settled and rather solemn figure with his 2 feet calmly anchored into the grassy garden, all enveloped in veils, one of them darker, reddish, covering his shoulder and looping itself so as to take the head into its embrace. This character, facing us, looking at us, has his palms open towards the beholders we are. Here we are in Pompeii. Now we are in antiquity. We are in a fresco, large, painted on a white wall, which is hollowed by a semicircular recess, a niche that receives fresh almonds, green juicy grapes, 3 figs, and a earth-made brownish cup with transparent water. In front of the wall, candles. In Roman antiquity, the people who could afford to sacrifice one of their walls for this would have such a shrine called a lararium, dedicated to honor spirits that were linked to the household. They were making offerings. They were making prayers to these spirits, and notably, centrally, to Genius Loci. Genius Loci, spirit of the place, the one that preside over the prosperity, fertility, happiness of the house, one that dwells, inhabits the location where the walls have been built. It is the central figure of our group of 3 characters. It's also the snake. Genius Loci then evolved, became a concept used by architects, landscape designers, urbanists, to address indeed the spirit of the place, this time not anymore understood as an entity, but understood more as this specific mood, this singular affective tonality that pervades a certain place, something you can't really define easily or locate, but that is characteristic to that location, that is present in the air, and mysticably, that imprints the walls and objects and peoples and memories, something you might need to look as from a distance when you left the place, when you extracted yourself from the most explicit components, most explicit features of the place, so that you rather are becoming available to the scent, the flavor of the place. Formless, but present, insisting, vibrant. Genius Loci is also the title of a performance I'm proposing with some collaborators that I want to name here, because they are central to the process, because they offered so much of their generous presence to it and to many of my work before. Sonia C. Ahmed, Anouk Lorenz, Maya Delinsky, and for a long time Laure Myers, before she moved and became too distant for it to be possible to continue working with her. Genius Loci, this performance, is a performance we address to domestic places, homes of people, homes that are going through a phase of transition, because people are moving in, moving out, because the house is being rebuilt. That are the most obvious cases of transition, but much more is possible. Transition is happening because you are receiving paintings from a dead friend as a legacy, because you have your house too much stuck into the family life and you would want the space to welcome more of your artistic endeavor. Many kind of transitions. And the principle is that it's addressed to the place in the presence of the inhabitants, and the inhabitants alone, people who are familiar with the place, who knows how it evolves, people who have concerns, desires, hopes attached to the place, people that are being transformed, influenced by living there. And this performance, it rests on a simple practice, a practice of presence, of bare receptive presence. That trusts the idea of inviting space to invite us. I propose that you could invite us where you are, right now. If you invite us, if you want us as guests, we come. Now. And offer to the place this practice. But it's up to you, of course. You don't have to. You can choose to stop listening, or you can choose to keep listening but staying in a function of distant observer, curious of what will happen, of how the practice will unfold in the places where the other listeners are inviting us to, but without a real implication from your part. It's also fine. You decide. You have the key to the door that lets us in or not. You can open or close the door when you want. But if you want us in, we come. We are here. We've arrived. We're in the middle of the room. Consider how far or how close we are from you. We are in the middle of the room as a cluster, very close to each other, a tight cluster. Consider how many of us are here. We may be 1, 2, 3, or even 4. Or maybe it doesn't make sense to distinguish us. Maybe we are formless presence vibrating here. In the middle of the room. We are very close from one another, all facing different directions, yet not very concerned with seeing or looking the place, rather busy with sensing how it feels to be here, standing with the feet on the floor, wooden floor, thick carpet, regular tiles, plastic covering. We are here standing, inhabiting the moment next to you, sedimenting into the moment and discovering there how much propensities are at work, undercurrents streaming into the current situation until, yes, one of us is stepping away from the cluster, responding to an invitation from the place that wants her to experience a new location, a new vantage point on what it is to be here. And as she adapts to this call, as she's responding to it, you may see her in another kind of position. Her torso may be tilted, her legs more apart, her left fingers reaching out towards you, towards the big lamp, towards the corner next to the armchair. Now we've all moved, we've stretched open the initial cluster into a larger configuration where we've reshuffled the set of relationships between our presences, your presence, the presence of objects, walls, light, memories, intuitions. Consider how incongruous, how familiar, how both our presences are here in that place. One of us is now sitting very close to you, offering her back mostly. And you see the to and fro of the breath in her torso. You see the texture of her sweater, and you notice you're looking in the same direction. It's like her attention to the place is supporting your attention and make your gaze fly through the room, through the window, through an open door, or resting on the patterns of the curtain, resting on the shades on the wall, or staying with the title of a book. Two of us are apart on each side of the room, and we almost look at each other, just slightly avoiding the perfect alignment that would make us seem as engaged into a silent conversation. Stations after stations, we're weaving trajectories, and maybe now you may feel invited to participate in this web. Maybe you want to inscribe a trajectory. Maybe you want to experience the place from a different perspective, reshuffling how you are inscribed into it. But maybe not. Maybe you are indifferent to this circulation. Maybe you are so intimately attuned to them that no movement is needed. Now, an arm is lifted in the air, slightly curved, echoing the line that the stem of a flower in the vase is drawing in the air, or echoing maybe the curve of the back of an armchair, or echoing the handle of the window. One of us is living, and when she's gone. The memory of her presence waning away were actually sized by the sense of the specific expressive signature of her presence. Something that you were maybe not so aware of while she was there, but suddenly in her absence, it gets amplified, diffuse in the air. We all going, one after another. And as you witness us leaving, reminiscences might surge up. Memories of some configuration, some constellations that triggered a sense of intensity, that triggered maybe a memory or made you notice a detail you are usually not seeing. You're gone. Only the presence of the words are still resonating in the room, like little folds in the fabric of the air. Vibration traveling across the place or directly into your ear conduct if you are with headphones. Vibrations distributed by some device. Vibrations that transmit meaning, images, impressions. Soon, the words will be gone as well. They will be gone, and you will be left alone with the warm embrace of the place. Its eventful presence. Happening now with intensity, blossoming widely in your open field of experience.
Where can we find the ground to land? With Julien Bruneau, we've been crossing various spaces, from radio studio to the theatre to the domestic spaces in which you are listening. Now, we might be traveling even further afield. I have been staying in a 4-star spa in Croatia for about 40 days now, at a gathering of people who are in search of happiness, convinced that they live in a world forever alive. Within the group, they each have a transitional status. As I am new, I am automatically a dog, a loving machine, and my number is 23. Thus opens the radio play La Caresse du Coma featuring YOLO by performance artist Annelies Legac in collaboration with sound designer Loto Retina. They're currently preparing a stage performance, but they were excited to give us a glimpse into their process in the form of a radio play. Oral culture plays a decisive role in Legac's work, which, to me, is nothing less than a vibrant folklore for the future. This radio play is the 4th episode in the series La Caresse du Coma. In it, Legac's alter ego Chien 23, Dog 23, encounters a new character, Vierge Liquide, whose memory appears to have been erased due to a viral infection, and who, moreover, speaks a language unknown to her. Now, this causes a particular problem when it comes to language. Annelies says, as the radio play navigates Foley art, French, the hybrid language of the character Vierge Liquide, electronic music inspired by flamenco, etc., etc. The narration is in French, but she's provided us with an English translation of the play, which you'll find on the website. And for the final dialogue with Vierge Liquide, there is also a French translation, or better, Annelies Legac's interpretation of this unfamiliar language. We are happy to present the premiere of this radio play, La Caresse du Coma, featuring YOLO.
Ça va faire 45 jours que je vis dans ce spa croate. Quand je suis arrivée, Papras, qui gère l'admin du mouvement, m'a donné un nouveau nom. Chien, entre parenthèses 23. Je connaissais personne au début. J'ai débarqué parmi des gens activement en train de chercher le bonheur, et la plupart du temps ça se passe en peignoir et claquette éponge. Ces gens se réunissent pour partager ça, une fois par an. Et aujourd'hui j'y suis moi aussi. On cherche le bonheur dans un hammam ou au bord d'une piscine. À la base, ça me plaît. Quand on vient pour la première fois dans le mouvement, on est automatiquement un chien. Là, je vis parmi d'autres nouveaux chiens, comme moi, et chacun a son numéro. Ici, on dit qu'un chien, c'est une machine à aimer. Voilà pourquoi. Pourquoi quoi? Tecos 2016 m'avait dit « Tu n'as que ça à te souvenir. Le reste est en train de se faire. » Moi, j'ai dit « Ok. » J'ai compris que je resterai pas chien 23 pour toujours, mais ça prend du temps de trouver son nom. Alors quand je l'aurai, quand il me sautera dessus, j'irai le donner à Papras. Et s'en suivra une sorte de cérémonie d'implantation. Si je suis la métaphore, je suppose que trouver son nom, c'est comme quand une bouture fait ses premières racines, ou quand tu n'as plus besoin de réveil pour te lever. On m'explique pas tout. Et j'ai compris que je devais toujours retarder le désir de poser des questions. Tecos 2016 nous avait dit au début que beaucoup de réponses sont dans l'air qu'on respire. Et que lorsqu'on ne sent rien, on peut aller voir la chicha et lui demander de jouer un air de flûte. Respirer cet air provoque des bouffées de lucidité. Et je l'ai fait à plusieurs reprises, et ouais, c'est étonnant. La première semaine que j'ai passée ici, on a fêté la nouvelle année. Là aussi, je débarquais complet. Gros réveillon en plein mois d'août. Le 6 août, exactement. C'est le jour de la prise de conscience de l'humanité qu'elle peut s'autodétruire. Le symbole de cette nouvelle année, c'est la feuille. Et pour la soirée, la plupart des convives avaient des costumes faits de feuilles naturelles ou artificielles. Sur le buffet, un immense gâteau vert, genre crème au beurre et génoise, en forme de feuilles de bananier. Des cocktails verts aussi, à base de champagne et de Jet 27. Des feuilles de salade sauvage à foison, en guise d'amuse-bouche, avec des petits cartels indiquant leur nom. Il y avait de la galinette barbabouc, cressonnette, la silène hirsute, pimprenelle cousteline, du cresson, mouron des oiseaux, chicorée, de la doucette, du pourpier, du pissenlit, il y en avait plein. Ici, la feuille, elle est considérée comme l'origine du monde. On ne doit rien à un dieu, mais on doit tout au souffle des feuilles. Et ici, le souffle des feuilles, c'est ce qu'on appelle le monde. Depuis que je suis arrivée, il fait toujours aussi beau. On est en septembre et il pleut toujours pas. Mais ça va. Les dizaines de pédiluves font le job de l'hydratation.
Bonjour, cher chien. Vous voici au début d'une immersion. C'est belle. L'immersion. Elle sera votre image, polyamoureuse. Nous vous demandons d'installer au moins une routine dans chacune de vos journées. La routine permet que le sentiment et son intensité vécue surviennent. Vous comprenez? Plus vous installez une action ritournelle, et plus vous cultivez le terrain qui fera émerger l'intense. Cet événement qui survient vous immerge et disparaît avant même que vous n'ayez pu l'identifier. Ne vous installez pas dans la quête quotidienne de l'intense. Ne cherchez pas la routine du frisson. La routine, la nôtre, travaille contre les intensités et c'est ce que l'on cherche ici. Inévitablement, votre routine va vous faire progresser et intensifier une chose. Mais gardez toujours à l'esprit qu'elle va affaiblir une autre en contrepartie. Oubliez l'idée d'accélération ou d'augmentation permanente. Cela n'existe pas. Faites-en l'expérience. Réveiller une routine abandonnée, c'est souvent le terrain d'un nouveau sentiment. YOLO sur vous, mes frateurs. YOLO sur vous. YOLO.
C'est la voix de coach qu'on vient d'entendre. Je l'avais enregistrée pour pas oublier. La routine de faire une chose chaque jour, c'est un truc que j'essaye d'installer depuis un petit moment. Et c'est pas si facile. Si on n'a pas d'idée de routine, le mouvement nous en propose. Et il y a vraiment le choix. Genre, tu peux faire des bains de forêt ou, ça se dit aussi sylvothérapie. À côté du spa, il y a une forêt avec de nombreux sapins. Les bains de forêt se passent là-bas tous les matins avant de prendre le petit-déj. Il y a le nail art aussi, la beauté des ongles. Là, ça se passe juste à côté du sauna. Il y a une petite pièce toute en bois avec une table et tout le matos pour se faire les ongles. C'est bien complet. Comme autre routine aussi, il y a la pratique de la flûte. Il y a un stock assez impressionnant de flûtes fabriquées par la chicha et elles sont à notre disposition. En bonus, le dimanche matin, on peut aller jouer de la flûte pendant le bain de forêt. C'est pas mal ça. Il y a la mysticulture aussi, la culture de champignons. Ça, c'est Ange, 92 kilocalories, qui s'en occupe. Et ça se passe dans un petit labo creusé dans la terre rocheuse derrière le spa. Pas encore testé ça. Le zapateado. Ça signifie battement de pied en espagnol. Et c'est comme une danse, mais c'est aussi, surtout, une sorte de drogue. C'est une prof, purification, qui nous apprend les bases. Ça, je fais. Ensuite, il y a le yield farming. Ça consiste à faire fructifier tes crypto-monnaies. C'est un truc assez solo et plutôt stratégique parce qu'en fait, tu spécules sur la valeur de monnaie virtuelle via des plateformes en ligne. Je sais pas si je vais le faire, ça. Je me laisse du temps. Ensuite, il y a les concerts ASMR de Mic Brushing. C'est dans un studio minuscule, mais hyper bien insonorisé. Il s'agit en gros de brosser un microphone amplifié et de très bonne qualité. Dans le spa, il y a une radio locale qui stream certains concerts live. Et donc c'est diffusé partout, de temps en temps. Les jam sessions de cobayen. Et le cobayen, c'est un langage inventé par Christian Vander. C'est le gars qui a fondé le groupe Magma. Et en fait, on se sert de son lexique pour chanter et freestyler dans sa langue. C'est pas évident, mais franchement, c'est cool. Il y a aussi encore le kitsungi, qui est en fait une technique japonaise de réparation des céramiques. Et en gros, les morceaux cassés sont rassemblés et tu utilises de la laque et de l'or pour colmater les cicatrices. Et il y a le morphing de photos d'animaux. Et ça se fait sur un ordi avec un programme d'intelligence artificielle complètement foufou. J'ai aucune idée de comment ça marche, mais trop fascinant. Un peu une drogue aussi. C'est bientôt l'heure de ma routine. Je fais du zapateado avec purification. Comme je disais, zapateado, c'est un mot espagnol. Ça veut dire battement de pied. Et ici, on est dans une sorte de petit atelier qui s'appelle le Mohamedi Peace. À la base, j'y connais rien au zapateado. J'ai découvert ça lors de la présentation des routines. Et Purification, elle nous a fait une démo solo. Elle s'est mise à taper des pieds sur une planche de bois posée au sol, sur un rythme simple en apparence. Et elle s'est mise à accélérer, elle cassait ses enchaînements, les refrains, les motifs. Il y avait des gros trous de silence qui s'enchaînaient avec des gros fracas. Un truc en elle l'a guidée, elle n'était pas seule. Et en 5 minutes à peine, j'avais eu le temps de la voir en colère, en mission, ou comme une furie sur le point d'exploser, et d'un coup en train de s'endormir ou de s'évanouir. Délire de variation, mais vraiment. Je me suis rendu compte que j'étais en apnée devant elle. Alors je me suis dit, c'est ça, je commence. Et d'abord les bases, c'est que comme ça. Et apprendre les bases, ça te fait toujours une bouffée d'humilité. Tu sais que c'est la base et tu n'y arrives même pas. J'aime bien frapper le sol quand je danse. Souvent, je me concentre sur mes pieds comme si j'écrasais des trucs. Puis à ce rythme dans lequel il faut se débattre sans se noyer. Ça compte sur 8 ou 12 temps. Je galère mais je m'en fous. Plus le temps passe, et plus mon tacon, c'est le talon, me semble tranchant. Il y a une micro-fureur, impossible à saisir quand ça claque au sol. Purification, elle a 50 ans environ. Il lui manque 2 dents et elle se teint les cheveux en noir, noir, noir. Elle boit que de la bière en bouteille de 1 litre. Elle porte souvent son haut désigual avec des motifs un peu fleurs, un peu tribal, multicolores. Et quand elle a passé sa pata, elle met des crocs rembourrés de moumoute. Sur ses avant-bras, elle est tatouée des citations d'un poète qui s'appelle F.G. Calor.
La musa dista y en algunas ocasiones sopla.
Ça veut dire la muse dicte et à certaines occasions, elle souffle.
El duende ama el borde de la herida.
Celui-ci, c'est le duende aime le bord de la plaie.
Un aire con olor de saliva de nino, de hierba machaca y velo de medusa.
Et ça veut dire un vent qui sent la salive d'enfant, l'herbe écrasée et le voile de méduse. Là, je la vois qui arrive. Purification, elle fixe toujours ses cours à 13h12. Et au début, j'avais même pas tilté la référence.
Hola, guapa.
Hola, Puri.
¿Qué tal?
Ouais, ça va bien, merci.
Comme toujours, hein?
Bah, ouais, ça va. Là, ça va, oui.
Ok. Oui, je t'ai fait une petite vidéo pour aujourd'hui, que tu vas d'abord écouter et regarder. C'est un nouveau compas que je veux que tu travailles aujourd'hui. Pero sans moi, je dois te laisser après, ok?
Si, ok.
Mira. Tu dois plonger dans l'intensité de la répétition, celle qui te garantit une forme d'éternité.
Ouais, après, je vise pas forcément l'éternité, tu sais.
C'est pas ton éternité à toi, c'est celle des mouvements nécessaires, c'est lui l'éternel. Tu vois?
Ouais.
Ici, le risque prend figure de rythme. Et l'espace est une menace. Et toi, t'es celle qui danse avec les temps qui la tuent. Oui, la chicha a composé un morceau pour aujourd'hui. Et toi, tu choisis bien tes intensités, hein?
Elle s'en va. Et je la reverrai demain à la même heure. Au sol, il y a cette planche-là, qui s'appelle le péril. C'est là que je répète. Bonjour. Ok. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Presque. C'est quoi ce vent? Hmm. Ben, on m'a rien dit. C'est normal? Vous bégayez? Ouais. Ouais, j'essaye. J'apprends. Avec purification. Ouais. Oui, c'est ça. Purification me dit souvent de finir encore, de pas cesser d'arrêter. Elle dit qu'il faut faire de l'arrêt une figure, un choc, un événement. C'est ça qu'elle dit. Bah, j'y arrive pas pour l'instant. Et YOLO, ça veut dire quoi? Alors, c'est dangereux? Ben oui, mais vous m'avez déjà demandé. Quoi, vous oubliez tout? Comme quoi? Ah ok, je savais pas. Mais vous avez jamais rien retenu? Vous avez jamais eu de mémoire? C'est quoi? C'est ultra flippant, là. Donc vous pouvez pas avoir de routine. Dingue. L'insouciance maximale. Il y a un étrange vent qui traverse le spa dans tous les sens depuis ce matin. Mais je comprends que c'est à cause d'elle, Vierge liquide. Ce vent est un peu chaud. Et il a une sorte d'odeur végétale de champignons d'automne. Je trouve ça hyper stylé comme parfum. Ça me rappelle quand un gars dans un bar karaoké m'avait dit que je sentais la grange. Il m'avait proposé, si tu veux, je t'amène faire un tour à Sephora. Je lui avais dit que la grange était dans le top 10 des parfums du futur. Le parfum de Vierge liquide, lui, il va bien au-delà. Elle a l'odeur du mélange radical. Genre le mélange des gaz qu'inspirent et expirent tous les êtres vivants. Et quand je respire ce vent, je capte qu'il est l'inverse de mon souffle. Le mien, il est plutôt toxique. Alors que ce vent, lui, il est comestible. près du feu de Zorro, c'est la grosse teuf et je sais pas si j'ai envie d'y aller là. C'est trop bizarre, j'ai l'impression de sentir tous les goûts de l'air. Il n'y a plus rien à manger dans le spa depuis 12 heures maintenant et ce vent me rassasie total. Je ressens pas la faim.
You have been listening to the third day of Unenclosed Spaces and the Great Outdoors for Grounding. We had wished to encounter you in a theatre for a performance conference of an entire day rather than 3 radio broadcasts. And yet, even though we are a dispersed community right now, and the afterthoughts and discussions will happen in a dispersed manner too, we've also been together during these 3 evenings. Where can we find the ground to land? In a week or so, the contributions will be made available as a podcast, and hopefully we'll meet again in the flesh soon to continue the conversation. Good night.